Well, Andrew, I cannot wait to show the listeners our very own Star Wars month opening text crawl.
Satsu, you do realize this is a audio-only podcast? Welcome to Star Wars Month.
Hello everybody and welcome to the finale of Star Wars Month. My name's Satsunami and joining me today is none other than the amazing trivia master himself. Andrew, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. It's been a long but fun Star Wars month, and as is tradition, we're coming to what is everyone's favourite episode of a given themed month.
Trivia. This is the one that you've all been waiting for, that you've all been expecting, and not because you definitely read my newsletter. For legal reasons, that's a joke. But yeah, usually every theme month, as you know, for new listeners out there, we always cap off our theme months with a very interesting trivia episode where we test one another to see our knowledge on the particular topic of the month. But before we go into it, because I am absolutely raring to go to test your knowledge on the Star Wars franchise, but before we go into it, what have been your highlights so far with this month?
You can't talk about Star Wars month without talking about the fact that it's over.
Well, true.
No, I'm just kidding. It's been fun going through this month. The main highlight for me really is just going through it with my partner, who is not well versed in Star Wars, knows about characters from popular culture and from the little bit she's seen. She had previously watched all of the most recent trilogy, sequel trilogy, and she slept through most of the prequel and original trilogy before. And so this was the first time she's actually sat down and watched all 9 movies, didn't fall asleep, very proud of her, and she did not enjoy most of them. So it was very interesting to kind of go through that and see it from a newbie's kind of eyes, their perspective, and kind of understand what her criticisms were in addition to mine, and what I would sort of explain, like, oh, the fans weren't very happy about this, and she'd be like, oh, okay. She didn't really always understand the certain criticisms that the sequel trilogy had because she didn't have a preconceived notion of what maybe quote unquote should be. That had been a real kind of highlight, just kind of going through that with someone who was seeing it for sort of the first time. And then just revisiting these topics and chatting about them with you was very fun. Ranting about certain things and going down rabbit holes that I didn't even realize existed in terms of criticisms I had that I didn't even know I had before I started them. We got into some sort of funny moments talking about Leia's relationship with Luke and the acting abilities of certain characters in the prequel trilogy. So yeah, I had a lot of fun going through that. The episode we just did on Star Wars Battlefront, the Star Wars games, was very fun. A lot sometimes from just the spinning off and just saying random things. But yeah, it was a fun month. What about yourself?
Well, no, I'm only kidding. Yeah, I have thoroughly enjoyed this month, I have to say. Granted, there has been a lot of preparation. As you said, we had to get through about, 3 trilogies worth of films. I feel as if the only time I've had to get through other media for a theme month was our Lord of the Rings month, which, that was more in terms of the length of the films. But, I mean, between that and I was in a very similar boat, I introduced my partner to the other films. She wasn't maybe such a fan of some of the other ones, but it was interesting seeing Star Wars through her eyes because she, again, much like your partner, had never seen Star Wars. She didn't really know much about it. I was trying to explain about the controversies and things surrounding it, but seeing it through someone else's eyes for the first time, that was absolutely fascinating, and it was so nice to see such a more positive spin, because on the internet, especially with Star Wars, you get so sucked into that idea of, oh, Star Wars is terrible, it's not the same, blah blah blah, and so on and so forth. But to see that positivity, and as well, I have to say, I've been seeing a lot more positivity popping up on, especially on Twitter in regards to it, because obviously you get the very intense pockets of fans there who say that, ever since it went to Disney, it's died a horrible death and so forth. But I have been seeing a lot of sequel fans and people who want to be a little bit more positive. So it was interesting to get different perspectives when we were going into these trilogies and seeing it not as just the stereotypical, oh, these films are bad because of the CGI or they're bad because of the not so tightly written script or something, but more for the fact that we were seeing why people fell in love with it and how much of a generational franchise this truly was, and it was cool to see. And again, picking up on your last point there, I did enjoy going back to the video games, having a play about with those, and yeah, really just having a great time diving back into my childhood as a Star Wars fan. So it's been an absolutely brilliant month. It's been a month that I have been so excited to explore with you, but now here it comes. Are you ready, Andrew? Are you ready for quite possibly one of the hardest trivia quizzes that you might ever have to face?
I'm excited to hear if that's the case. I think I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
So usually with these episodes, as I was saying before, this is how we usually cap off the themed months as a whole. We have a set of 10 questions that are true or false answers, and I'll read out a statement, and of course Andrew, or whoever's unfortunate enough to be sitting on the other side there, will have to say whether the answer is true or false. But this time, because we're focusing on Star Wars, I have bumped up the number of questions. Pray I don't bump it up further.
I do have to say, in the most recent trivia that you did with Martin McAllister, I was accused of metagaming the trivia system here. I want to sort of clarify and sort of defend myself a little bit here, because I don't think that's completely fair. So I will do my utmost to dispel any allegations against me with regards to my trivia etiquette.
Oh, I can't wait for this one, because as I said, usually it's 10 questions based on the theme month, but this time I have bumped it up to 20. Now, the reason you might be thinking, why is it bumped up to 20? The reason being that I have split it into 4 particular sections. We've got 5 questions in each, and one of them is going to be focused on the prequels, one of them is going to be focused on the original trilogy, one of them is going to be focused on the sequels, and one of them is going to be focused on everything else all around it. So, without any further ado, are you ready?
I think I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Well, get your blue milk out and your notepad. Yeah, in all seriousness, if you want to play along at home, please feel free to, and we would highly encourage, if you are playing at home, please let us know how you did in the quiz. If you got top marks, if you bet Andrew, then let us know. And yeah, we will be right back after these final transmissions from Star Wars Month. Welcome to Satsunami, a variety podcast that discusses topics from gaming and films to anime and general interests.
Previously on Satsunami, we've analysed what makes a good horror game, conducted a retrospective on Pierce Brosnan's run as James Bond, and listened to us take deep dives into both the Sonic and Halo franchises.
Also, if you're an anime fan, then don't forget to check us out on our sub-series, Satsunami, where we dive into the world of anime. So far, we've reviewed things like Death Note, Princess Mononoke, and the hit Beyblade series.
If that sounds like your cup of tea, then you can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and all good podcast apps.
As always, stay safe,
stay awesome, and most importantly,
stay hydrated.
Hello, we are Two Girls, One Reusable Cup, a podcast all about living a low-waste lifestyle in your 20s, hosted by Beth and Marie. We are just your average consumer trying to make the best decisions for people and planet. And we mess up. A lot.
And the next morning had a massive hangover and I was like, where's my reusable straw? No, my prized possession.
No, toothpaste is like one of the jumping off points of this podcast, and it also was one of the jumping off points of my very large dentist bill.
And they put it in just standard plastic cup with a plastic lid. But don't worry, folks, they put a paper straw in it, which I think I slurped twice and then it disintegrated.
Wait, you've never learned how to ride a bike?
So kudos to my dad, he tried to teach me and I was just a pain. I love how unforgiving you are of the fact that this was 1,800 metres above sea level. But where was my quiche?
Grab a cup of tea, sit down with us, and come and join the Sustainable Support Group.
Asking Andrew questions. Does he know the answer? Probably not.
Dun-dun. Right, are you ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, let's do this thing.
So, as I said before the break, we have 5 questions per era, plus the extra ones. Again, I'm going to shake it up a little, and I'm going to save the answers till the end of every section.
Ooh,
so,
okay.
By the end of the 5 questions, I'll rerun through the questions again, and I'll tell you whether you were right or wrong. So please take a note of them. because
Oh god, okay. I have to do work? That wasn't in the contract.
So, question 1, and this is for the prequel trilogy.
Oh god, okay.
We often associate the double-ended lightsaber with Darth Maul. But did you know he wasn't the first character to use it, as the first one appeared a few years before the prequel era?
So the idea being, I guess, that in a story or a comic prior to Phantom Menace, that there was a double-sided lightsaber. It was such a big deal when there was that reveal that he had that. So you would think that I would have heard about other double-sided lightsabers prior to that, since the nerds were all happy about the double-sided lightsaber for Darth Maul. So I'm going to say there was not another one. That's false.
Okay, question 2.
I don't like that I don't know. Already the system is not working in my favor.
Question 2. Before The Phantom Menace, there were plans to develop a platforming type game for the PlayStation where Jar Jar Binks would be the main character. However, after the backlash of the character, the game was shelved.
I think that's true. I reckon there was probably a Jar Jar focused game that got shelved, because I think that George Lucas was probably heartbroken and thinking that everyone would love this wacky alien character and that he'd be on everyone's shelf. Everyone wants to own the Jar Jar toy. So I'm going to say that's true, that George had immense faith and had already told LucasArts to start on the production of it.
I can just imagine him on the phone being like, we need 1 million copies of this game. Oh, great. Do you want them out for Christmas? No, just ship them to Lucas Ranch.
Skywalker Ranch.
Skywalker Ranch, same thing.
And you call yourself a Star Trek fan?
I call myself a Firefly fan, thank you very much. I can't think of any other high-profile ones. Please don't sue me.
And you chose Firefly?
I don't know, okay?
You could have gone Battlestar Galactica or something like that, and you went Firefly.
What's wrong with Firefly? Anyway, next month is Firefly Month. In fact, do you know what the sad thing is? We don't have enough content for Firefly Month.
Well, there's Firefly, which is like, 10 episodes, and there's Serenity, which is like a movie, and that's it.
There might be comics, I don't know.
Oh, Joss Whedon's kind of cancelled, so we probably should sort of stay clear of that first.
True. And speaking of cancelled, question 3. There have been a number of cameos throughout the films, but did you know that NSYNC were supposed to be featured in Attack of the Clones?
Just imagine them in droid armor. You know those chrome metal ones?
Oh, the super battle droids,
The
yeah.
super battle droids, and they start doing NSYNC style breakdance moves.
Start singing Bye 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 as Count Dooku starts flying away.
They do like that, like a jump freeze frame, and one of them just falls over.
Yeah! Oh.
All my NSYNC knowledge comes from that one Simpsons episode.
Yeah.
I'm going to say true. That seems like the kind of bullshit that was planned to happen in that kind of time period. They were huge stars. George Lucas was crazy.
He was a madman. So, question 4. The prequel trilogy was one of the most heavily marketed of the series. In Germany, one such example saw a German toilet paper company strike a deal with Lucasfilm to have their own Star Wars branded toilet paper to promote Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the shit. That wasn't a criticism of the movie. That was me making a pun on the toilet paper.
Ooh. You know what? I don't know what's worse, that pun or the fact that I thought about it when writing up the question.
More like Count Dookie, am I right?
So that's German Star Wars toilet paper, which is a phrase I never thought I'd be saying in my life, but here we are.
Das Galactic Pupen.
I wish my German was better to make a funny retort. I took French in school.
I took German, so I should be doing better than that. No one that speaks German can be evil.
Promote that, Matt.
No one that has German toilet paper can be evil. See, there was a lot of wacky products that came out that were associated with Star Wars. Remember the Jar Jar Pez dispenser?
What, the one we had to suck his tongue to?
No, that was a lollipop. I was actually also thinking about that.
Yeah, I was on an episode with fellow Polpack member Dan from Cast and Views where we were talking about weird merchandise. That very much came up in conversation, and yeah, just looking at that thing gave me nightmares.
Oh dear.
But would you believe they'd be crazy enough to license out toilet paper?
I would believe they'd be crazy enough to license out toilet paper. However, whether or not it actually happened is another question. I am going to say true again.
And the final question. In Attack of the Clones, Lake Como in Italy was used for the romantic Naboo scenes. And this isn't part of the question.
That's true. I know that's the case.
Yeah, this isn't part of the question, but it is such a gorgeous place.
The true star of that movie, Lake Como. I'm just clap for Lake Como.
However, a few locals protested against filming there, and instead of reshooting the scenes with them in the background, Lucas decided to edit over them as Gungans instead.
Imagine you're mad about something and you get turned into a Gungan.
No, don't turn me into a marketable Gungan! Oh!
That can't be legal. You surely can't have someone in a movie that's not signed off on it.
Well, you wouldn't know if they're a Gungan.
Because you've covered them up.
Do you know where your child is? They might be a Gungan.
Oh my God.
No.
If anyone listened to the last episode, it was me.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, the part about Lake Como is true.
The question here is whether or not it's the case that some angry locals protested and got turned into Gungans.
Well, when you put it like that, yeah.
Sounds like the kind of thing Disney would have been able to do. Throw them into the biomanipulator.
Or it's like, oh, who's that character in Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Roger Rabbit.
No, not well, him too, yeah.
The bad guy that's played by Doc Brown.
Yeah. Oh, spoilers. Nah, I'm only kidding. That film's what?
Is that a spoiler that he's the bad guy?
I don't know. It's been years since I've seen it.
Does he appear earlier in the movie and you're like, this is an upstanding individual?
He was Doc Brown, okay? He was an upstanding individual in my
I
eye.
don't know. I watched that episode of The Mandalorian and he was pretty sus in that.
Anyway, Doc Brown aside, do you think these protesters got Gunganized? Gungan-fied? I don't know.
I'm going to say no. I think that's too much bullshit. I can't buy that. There's only so much bullshit you can throw my way before I say, not today, Satsu.
Okay, so we are at the end of round 1 for the prequel trilogy. Are you ready to hear your answers?
Let's go for it.
So, question 1 was the question about whether or not Darth Maul was the first character to have a double-edged lightsaber. Surprisingly, you had said false, but the answer is actually true.
Oh.
So apparently it was a character called Exar Kun who was the first...
Oh, that's not any better.
I don't know, a K-U-N. What do you want from me?
I don't know. I don't know if I can say that. Blurb that man. Not blurb it.
Summarize him. Gunganize him.
Index that. Where's the glossary at?
So yes, Mr. Exar, he was the first Star Wars character to have ever been shown to use a double-bladed lightsaber, and he was created by Tom Veitch and Kevin J. Anderson for the Tales of the Jedi comic in 1995. So I know that's kind of out of the prequels, but it's interesting to see.
I mean, that's not canon anymore. They moved those into like the Star Wars Legacy or Heroes collection.
Actually, it's Legends.
Whatever. It's not canon anymore. So in my mind, Maul was the first one, and it's a tick for me. Thank you. I will be accepting my prize and check, I assume as a check, delivered to Under Your Bed 3275.
Andrew, why do I hear stop the count outside my window? So, question 2 was the question about the Jar Jar platformer game. You said true, but to the best of my knowledge, it is false.
I'm not doing very well here today.
To be fair though, I genuinely am surprised there wasn't a kind of kiddie platformer for someone like Jar Jar. You feel as if that would be kind of the route to go, but instead they went for a really weird roleplay version of Phantom Menace. That was not a good game, from what I remember. So question 3 about the NSYNC cameo. You said true, and you're right. That is indeed true. So I think, and I could be wrong here, but I think George Lucas's daughter was a big fan of them at the time.
She was.
And, well, yeah, weren't we all? And yeah, they were supposed to be, I think it was Jedi in the background, but unfortunately their scenes got cut from the film. Go figure for George Lucas. There's not even an extended cut, so they got NSYNC out for nothing, is what I'm saying.
They must have been devastated.
Yelling bye 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 as they ran away, exactly. That's the only one I remember.
I was going to say, I keep trying to make a joke and I'm like, no, that's Backstreet Boys.
I want it that way. This man's never listened to an NSYNC song in his life. So, question 4 about the German toilet paper. You said true, and it is true.
Hey.
I was really shocked by that. I was genuinely shocked that that was such a thing. And I know this is the same franchise that has a wide variety of really weird merch ideas. Like, as I said, it was very eye-opening when I did that weird merchandise episode with Dan from Casting Views, because we talked about the Jar Jar lollipop. As we said, there was a R2-D2 aquarium in And then there was also a C-3PO tape dispenser where you took it out from between C-3PO's legs.
Oh.
The less said about that, the better. It wasn't a fun time. But for the fifth one, about the Gunganification of Italians, I have to say you were right. You said false, and it is false. There was no Gungifying, as we said, of protesters. As far as I know, there were no protests at all. But it is very true that it was filmed in Lake Como, and yeah, Lake Como is absolutely gorgeous, so go visit Lake Como.
That's 3 for 5 then that I got there?
Yep, 3 for 5. 3 out of 5 so far, so not too bad, actually.
Okay, bad start, but I made it up the last 3.
Okay, so you ready for the second one?
Let's do it.
Okay, so we're moving on to round 2, and we are talking about the original trilogy. Question 1. During the production of Empire Strikes Back, one of the ideas to bring the AT-ATs, or AT-ATs or Imperial Walkers, to life was to dress up dogs as them and slow the footage down. The plan was cancelled, however, as not only was Lucas unhappy with the end result, but they kept peeing on the fake snow laid out.
No.
That was a very thoughtful pause there, like,
That just can't be the case. That's silly. That's too silly.
I mean, if you not seen the ones in Amazon, can you not imagine that running towards you in the North?
You had me until the peeing thing. I think that's just too silly. I can't believe... I mean, I know dogs pee, it's what they do. But, like, that whole situation just... It became too ridiculous. I was like, no, that can't be the case. I'm saying false.
Question 2. After Lucas admitted that Return of the Jedi was an allegory for the Vietnam War, some politicians tried to motion to ban the film. Due to its popularity, however, the plan never came to fruition.
False, because I think that was revealed much later, and so there wouldn't have been an active campaign to have banned the film by that point.
So, for question 3, in Empire Strikes Back, Yoda was supposed to be a monkey carrying a cane. The prop department went as far as to put a mask over the monkey.
I would have thought that he would have been pretty committed to the Jim Henson kind of Muppety route by that point. So my initial thought was, yeah, that sounds about right. I could bet that was the case, despite the fact I said false for the dog. But I'm sure he already had an agreement in place with Jim Henson Company for a Muppet that would have been Yoda. So I'm going to say false for that.
For question 4, the term Ewok is actually never spoken in Return of the Jedi.
What? No. C-3PO must say it.
Ewoks, I don't have much time. The Empire is, and it just blows up.
Where is the kind of knowledge base from them come from? Like, how do people know what they were called? I guess, like, maybe, like, magazines and stuff? It's like that thing about Legolas never speaking to Frodo. Like,
Kendall, Sam, you! And the rest. So what are you thinking for that one?
I guess I can't recall it being said. Sure, I'll say true.
And the final question of the round. During the filming of A New Hope, George Lucas nearly started a socio-political incident due to the Jawas.
Because of it being filmed in Tunisia, that the locals weren't happy about it?
It was more to do with one of the props that was lying out.
Oh, was it like a religious symbol?
Not as far as that, but there was a lot of big props that people might have misinterpreted.
I'll say false.
So, are you ready for the answers?
Go for it.
Question 1 about the peeing AT-ATs, or the dog AT-ATs as it were. Yeah, you were right, it was false. And I'm kicking myself that I did that bit. I thought that would throw you off, but it threw me under the bus there.
Imperial dog walkers.
Why is that not a thing? For question 2 about the American government being angry that was an allegory for the Vietnam War, you said false, and you're correct. As far as I know, there was no major campaign from the American government to say, oh, it's terrible and everything. So, yeah, you were right. For the third one, about Yoda supposed to be a monkey carrying a cane, you said false. It is actually true.
Oh, interesting.
I've seen the picture. It's so weird. I genuinely don't get the thinking behind it. I'm kind of glad they went the puppet route, but it was either that, because I thought I really need to have a Yoda question in here, and it was either that or to ask you what Yoda's first name is.
Oh, yeah, no.
Minch.
Lynch?
No, Minch.
Minch Yoda. I straight up assumed Yoda was his first name, so you would have got me with that one.
Yeah, no, I thought that as well. I was like, surely he's not got a first name.
I'm on a first name basis with Yoda.
Yeah. I don't want to brag, but Minch and I, Can you imagine that? It's like, Master Minch, what have we got to do? It's like, oh, we are so dead. Question 4 about the Ewoks never being spoken. Apparently that's true. So you were right. I'd never noticed that as well. Because I did exactly the same thing as you. I was like, no way, there must be some point they've said it, but apparently not. And the final question about the socio-political incident, you said false, but it's actually true.
So what was the incident then?
So, the sand crawler that the Jawas travel in?
Yes.
Well, apparently it was a little bit too close to the border between Libya and Tunisia.
Oh, I see.
Libya, for some reason, thought, because I think it was run by Gaddafi at the time, who was in power, and he thought it was like a declaration of war that they were amassing tanks on the border or something. So then they phoned them and they said, sorry, it's George Lucas's toys. He'll move them down further into the desert. So they obviously had to move them. But yeah, apparently that was like a real incident that they could have got very much in trouble for. So could have been a very different film. But no, fortunately, nothing happened. No one was hurt over it. And yeah, it's just, this series is wild. So you are 3 for 3 for both of these rounds. How are you feeling so far?
I'm nervous. This is the worst I've done, I think, for a trivia session, to my knowledge.
I mean, to be fair, 3 out of 5 per round isn't a bad score. It's quite solid.
It would get me a decent grade at a UK university, not so much at a US one.
And to all the lovely listeners listening at home, please feel free to join in and tell us how you're doing so far. Please let us know what you got per round, because we would love to hear it. But on that note, are you ready for the sequel trilogy?
Yeah, let's do this.
For the first question in the sequel trilogy round, in The Last Jedi, we are introduced to the Porgs, who are small flying creatures that inhabit the island where Luke Skywalker lives. But did you know that the reason for their inception was because of the puffin population on the island of Skellig Michael, where this was filmed?
I can believe that. I'll say true. Some of these aren't great content. I've not got much to say about it. I just think it's true or false.
I mean, it's better than saying the Gungans and Skellig. Skellig Michael. Question 2. We all know that there was a negative reception to the sequel trilogy, but did you know that a group of Star Wars fans dressed as Jedi went to Skywalker Ranch to protest the film?
I believe that I have heard that is the case, actually. I think I have heard that before. So I will say true.
Question 3. During the promotion of The Last Jedi, there were plans to have a range of nightlights of the characters, including one of Luke Skywalker. However, when the plot details were fully revealed, Disney decided it would be inappropriate and decided not to make them.
Why would it be inappropriate? Because he died?
No, because there's that infamous scene where he's standing over Kylo Ren with his lightsaber ignited.
Oh.
So they thought there would be that correlation between Luke Skywalker standing over a child's bed with a lightsaber. All I'll say is I'm glad your mind didn't go to that first of all.
He's targeted the younglings.
He's just like his father. So what are you thinking for this one?
I'm thinking false. I don't think that's the case.
What, you mean you don't want a Luke Skywalker nightlight just standing over you?
No, I'll pass on that, thank you.
Question 4. John Williams played a bartender in The Rise of Skywalker as a cameo.
That'd be cute. I know there were a lot of cameos from random celebrities in that movie in particular, so I'm going to say true.
Okie doke. And final question. When Mark Hamill returned to the role of Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, he was the same age as Alec Guinness when he played Obi-Wan in A New Hope.
Oh God, I hope that's not the case.
So they would have been both the same age, respectively, when Alec Guinness was in A New Hope and Mark Hamill was in The Last Jedi.
I'm going to say false. I don't think he was quite as old as Alec Guinness was. No, that's tricky because he was, 20-odd in the 70s when that was made. So, all right, no, I'm changing my answer. It's going to be true. I'm going to say true.
Final answer?
Final answer, true.
And here are the results. So for the first question about the Porgs, where the reason for their existence is because of the puffin population, you said true, and it is indeed true.
Nice.
Apparently the puffin problem was so bad that they they couldn't obviously displace them because it was the home. So what they did instead was they CGI'd over them.
Okay. They Gunganized them.
They Gunganized them. I'm glad this is becoming a verb, yeah. Yeah, they definitely Gunganized them. That's actually the inspiration for that other question came from. For question 2, about the protests of people dressed as Jedi at Skywalker Ranch, you said true. If this is the case, I'll retroactively change it, but I don't know of any protests going on, so it is false as far as I know.
Okay.
That there were no Star Wars fans. I mean, there could very well have been.
There's never been any Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
It's all been a cover-up. There's big conspiracy. Star Wars fans never existed.
Yeah, there's no Star Wars fans in Bespin say. Question 3, about the Luke Skywalker nightlights. You said false, and you're correct, but I find the thought of that hilarious, so that's why I thought, please tell me there isn't a product like that. That would be very inappropriate. Number 4, about the John Williams cameo. Apparently it's true. So you got that one right as well. It's the same bar, I think, where they meet Babu Frick. And the final question about Mark Hamill being the same age as Alec Guinness. I have to say, your Jedi instincts were 100% correct there. It is indeed true.
That is deeply upsetting.
They were both 63 years old, would you believe?
Goodness me.
No offence to Alec Guinness, because I know hashtag it was a different time, but he definitely had the harder paper in the two.
Yeah, he looks older. Yeah, Mark Hamill has a bit more colour in his hair, and he also is a bit larger. He's a bit wider, which I think often makes you look a bit younger at that age, because when you're a skinny old man, you look a bit more frail.
You can tell he's got the hermit in the desert vibes going on.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the final round?
Yeah, let's do this.
So this is our bonus round, and this is going to take inspiration really from all parts of the franchise, so in particular the Legends canon. I hope you're a nerd, Andrew, because
Oh no, that's not me. I'm not a nerd.
we're going to go places. Question 1. In the Legends canon, during a rescue mission gone wrong, Chewbacca was killed by having a moon being dropped on him.
True. I know this already. I've already heard this. Do better.
I was actually going to put the George Binks one in. It's like, should I not?
I'm hoping I do quite well at this round, because I actually know, not like a decent amount, but I've read all like the dorkly college humor articles where they always talk about this kind of stuff. That's where I learned about George Binks and the Wookiee Moon thing.
Question 2. Luke kept visiting one of his descendants so much as a Force ghost that they developed a death stick addiction just to block him out.
True. I also have heard this before.
I feel like you're going to get top marks for this one.
Well, I hope you're not bluffing there, and actually I got that one wrong.
Question 3. After the fall of the Empire, there was a secret plot to clone Luke using his own severed hand from Cloud City. He was named Luke with 2 U's.
That's true as well. I'm sorry, I'm not doing great content for this, but I've also heard that before. There's a great quiz show called that actually did this as well.
So they're the people that have to complain to.
Yeah, you can send them an angry letter.
The next one. After the fall of the Empire, the rebellion attempted to take the planet of Coruscant. However, what they didn't expect was a super star destroyer to be hiding in the depths of the city.
What was it, just under a huge tarp?
No, like literally under.
Oh, on Earth itself, like War of the Worlds kind of thing.
Well, keep in mind that Coruscant is just nothing but buildings. But I like your thought better of just a giant tarp. How did they hide this thing?
Just a really big bush.
Yeah. One hell of a gardener.
False. I feel like I would have heard about that one. That's quite silly. The giant ship unearthing itself through the city that's been hiding. So I'm going to say false for that one.
Final question of the episode. Are you ready for this?
Let's do this.
In the Legends canon, Coca-Cola exists.
No, it's actually a Pepsi universe.
You know, that does. See, if you say it in a weird way, that does sound like a Star Wars character. Oh yes, I'm Master Jedi Pepsi.
That's like when George is like trying to think of characters, he's looking around the room like, Vegatable.
I mean, there is literally a character, like a one-off character that they made for the Clone Wars, and it was a Jedi called Amagundi or something, but if you say it slowly, it's I'm gonna die, and you're like, wow, it took all 5 minutes for that one, didn't it? So what do you think about Coca-Cola? Does it exist?
I'm going to say yes. I feel like that's something stupid enough that would be in the Legends universe.
Okay, are you ready for your answers.
Yeah, let's do this. Put me out of my misery.
So, number 1, about the Wookiee moon. You're right, Chewbacca was killed by having a moon dropped on him, which is very depressing.
Yeah, that was my understanding as well. It just seems so unnecessary. I feel like that was just like a shock factor kind of story. Hey, guess what? I killed Chewbacca. What are you going to do about it? I write for Star Wars. I'm so cool. Get over yourself.
That's no moon. It's just a Wookiee in a moon costume. And it's funny because I was half expecting them to do that in The Force Awakens, but no, they kind of did the opposite and killed off Han Solo, because much like Alec Guinness, I feel as if Harrison Ford is just sick of Star Wars now. He's just like, yeah, pull me out of it, George. Pull me out of it. And then came back as a Force ghost, but that's another thing. For question 2 about Luke visiting one of his descendants, that is indeed true. So the descendant in question is called Cade Skywalker, who was a bounty hunter / smuggler that left the Order, and then he was so sick of hearing from Luke that, yeah, he just decided to take up death sticks, which is just such a very peculiar thing. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, it's a very weird one. I don't quite know what they were going for with that.
Question 3 about Luke's clone called Luke. See, that's the thing. Whenever I see that Luke spelt like that, you have to say it like that. You can't just say, oh, Luke and Luke. You have to say Luke and Luke. Yeah, that was true. That was true as well. Well done. And thank you to actually for ruining this episode. You'll be getting a strong tagging in this episode, or the tweet to be like, you see what you've done? Question 4 about the Super Star Destroyer hiding in the depths of Coruscant. Would you believe that's true?
Oh, how weird.
For some reason in the Legends canon, there's like a thing where the rebellion tried to take back Coruscant, and they're with Rogue Squadron, and they're like, oh, we've got this, and yeah, a big ass Star Destroyer just comes out. It sounds cool, but at the same time, you're like, how did they build that? So it's just a subway attached to it or something.
We're getting into the Rise of Skywalker. How the hell did they build all those ships kind of discourse there?
Old Star Wars used to be better. Not like the new Star Wars. I wish I could say for legal reasons that's a joke, but search your feelings, you know it to be true. And finally, Coca-Cola being real in the Star Wars universe. It is true, at least in the Legends canon. I don't know if that extends to Disney, because, you know, there's the obvious legalities there, but yeah, apparently so.
What did I say again?
You said true.
Oh, nice. Good job, me.
So you got 4 out of 5 for that one.
Best one so far then.
So, just to recap, for the prequel round, you got 3 out of 5. For the OG trilogy, you got 3 out of 5. For the sequel trilogy, you got 4 out of 5. And for the Legends round, you got 4 out of 5.
Hey, I think that's a pretty decent return. I think I did okay there.
So overall, you got 14 out of 20, which is a respectable score.
Yeah, I think so. I think, what's that? That's 7 out of 10, 70%. I'll take that. I'll take that to the bank.
Not too shabby. And I'll send you a picture later of your results, but...
I'm expecting a certificate, thank you.
But yeah, how did you find that quiz?
It was really good. Thank you for putting that together. There was some pretty fun, interesting questions there. I apologise for ruining your legacy ones.
To be fair, I could have been a lot more obscure, but I feel as if maybe I was just on the fringes too much. I kind of forgot to realise that there's so many people outside the Star Wars fandom that know about Clone Luke and everything else and the Wookiee Moon, but they don't know about the Gunganization, or Gungifying, as we said. So, hashtag Gungify.
Hashtag Gungan rights.
But on that note, Andrew, thank you so much for not only joining me in this entire month, but also joining me for this trivia episode.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope the folks at home have enjoyed this themed month, that they've listened to each episode at least twice, because the second listen, you start to sort of appreciate some of the nuances, some of the Easter eggs we've included. So make sure you're listening to it as much as possible. We do actually hide your name in there if you listen to it. If you can't catch it, listen to it again. Eventually you'll hear it. And like if you send it to your friends, their name is in it as well. So send it round and just listen out for it. You'll be pleasantly surprised.
You know what? For legal reasons, go ahead. I'm defaulting to the Red Panda lawyer there. If you need him, you've got him on speed dial. But yeah, in all honesty, thank you so much to all the lovely listeners out there and the fantastic Pandalorians who have really supported us through this month, because this has been a lot of fun to record for. It's been a lot of fun to go through all the different medias, to really just see what we liked, what we didn't like about it, and just overall had such a great time. So yeah, thank you all so much. And in all seriousness, please do reach out to us and let us know how you got on with this quiz. If you got full 20 out of 20, if you got got maybe lower than Andrew, if you got higher, especially if you got higher than Andrew, then please feel free to reach out.
Impossible. No one gets more than 14.
Yeah.
Can't be done.
It's the kind of highbrow humour you expect from Satsunami. Did you get the dog peeing question? Or the Gungan question? Let us know. Honestly, in all seriousness, we would love to hear from you. But before we wrap up, Andrew, where can these lovely listeners find your content?
The lovely listeners can find my content on other episodes of Satsunami. I've been on lots of episodes recently, and you can find me on our other podcast, Stop, Drop, and Roll Initiative, a D&D tabletop RPG podcast, where all good podcasts can be found. You can also find that podcast's Twitter at SDRIPod. And yeah, check it out. There's a couple episodes out at the moment, and I'm very slow at getting them out, but hopefully we'll have some more soon.
And as always, if you want to catch more episodes from ourselves, as well as just in general for the rest of the month, then you can check us out on the website, chatsunami.com, as well as all good podcasting apps. I also want to thank our Pandalorian patrons, Robotic Battle Toaster and Sonia. Thank you so much, as always, for supporting the show. And if you want some exclusive content, such as bloopers, early access, exclusive episodes, then please feel free to check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Chatsunami. But until next time, thank you all so much for checking out this theme month. Stay safe, stay awesome, and most importantly, may the Force be with you.